Hey everybody, we're going live and I am just gonna switch this off. Okay, how did you like that? Let me know in the comments what you thought about that, what you thought about that intro. And yeah, anyway, we're live. I'm here. Glad to be back. Happy Tuesday. It's an important week. And we had some interesting news today. I mean, right off the bat, the ETF is starting trading today, and let's see where that goes. It's exciting. Let's see how that kicks off. The price hasn't moved very much. I know I'm talking about crypto. A lot of you don't like crypto or are not too interested in crypto. You're here because of Truflation and the macroeconomic and financial and economic data. But I just wanted to quickly share with you where Ethereum has come and where it might be going. So I'm just going to quickly, let's have a quick look at that. It's a momentous occasion. It's the second ETF out there, an altcoin. And so what that means is all of a sudden we're going to see many more altcoins come and get ETF-ified, if that's a word. But you can see it hasn't really done much to the chart. It was all the way down here at $2,000 and it's moved up to $3,500. So actually done pretty well. And it's held pretty well. I think, this is, so somebody was actually saying, whilst Bitcoin is the digital gold, it's used as storage, it's going to be used as a reserve currency. Ethereum is the digital oil, which mobilizes and fuels a lot of the industry and economies. And is Solana the next EV? I don't know, but that's an interesting concept. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. But look, we're here today, going to cover off a couple of things. I just wanted to address, as usual, we'll go into some of the community questions. I'll go into some of the partnership announcements and features that we've been working on. And then also, I've got another live stream coming up later today, and we'll be talking about that. That's just the Spaces together with Forge. So excited about that. And then we've got something next week coming on about RWA and the tokenization of RWAs. And then I'll go into some alpha news, what we're seeing out there in terms of activity from a macro and economic perspective. So the tweets and chats are all live. So you can tweet, you can comment, you can chat, you can ask your questions in live. So please feel free to shoot out any questions you might have. Let's go, Truflation Nation. Time to kill. Nice for you to be here. Glad to see you here. Always happy to have strong community members and Time to Kill. Tim to Kill has always been very active in the community. So happy to have you here. But yeah, what we can see, one of the questions that was submitted and sent in was really around what is the exact connection to Truflation and RWAs? And are you guys making coins or building markets? So we are not building coins. We are not creating markets. We are building a marketplace for price feeds. And I'm just going to go to truflation.com right now, enter the app, and you'll be able to see right here, right now, right here, you'll be able to see what some of the data is that we have. So you can see here, I'm logged in with my account. I have a membership account, and we're going to be sharing some interesting news about our accounts and user base here shortly. But you can see again, US aggregate inflation. We have a new feature that we just launched here. So you can see the index. This index is leveraging Truflation Stream Network data. And it is computing and leveraging the Truflation Stream Network computer power with this verified and authenticated data to then be able to display in the truflation.com dashboard that you're seeing. So these price feeds are coming from all sorts of sources. So here now, we now have the aggregated view on food and beverages. So you can see food at home, food away from home. So you can then just see how food in the last 3 years has shot up nearly, 30% the cost of food. And remember, food is 15.3% of household spending. So that's just an insight, but that's not addressing the question that you have. You asked, do we have and do anything? How do we relate to RWAs? So you can see RWAs are not necessarily buildings and the price of buildings, but we have lithium futures. What does that mean? You can actually find the price of lithium, and the Truflation Stream network is provisioning this data through a Web2 API and RPC. So ultimately, the node network is providing distribution of these price feeds in the RWA, which are commodities, agriculture products, and other items, from metals, precious metals, in this case lithium, to our users. We do not create coins around lithium or synthetic assets around lithium, around silicon or other products. We do not build markets. We provide markets with the data. So what do? Ultimately, we're about helping with the distribution of our price feeds onto layer one blockchains so that all the builders on those layer one blockchains can actually go and create assets on top of those layer ones. We work with Chainlink to build out hackathons and build up on there. We work with other providers to help build out on there. And just recently, we've been working with Nibiru. Nibiru, as you may know, is a layer one blockchain. And what does Nibiru do? They are very much focused on the RWA category. And so we had an event, we did a hackathon with them, and one of the winners of that hackathon built out a project. It's 8 minutes long. I won't share this with you, but you can see here that they built out something called the Nibiru estate using the Truflation
Hello
price
everyone,
feed.
our
So
team
you
name
can
is
see
Chain
the
Bros and my
developers
name
there
is Kunal.
talking
To
about
get
it.
into the
He's built
architecture of our
out a front
marketplace,
end, a back
at its
end,
core we use the
using
CW721
NFT
based
smart
smart contract
contracts.
on the Nibiru blockchain.
NFT
We have
marketplace
customized
smart
this smart
contract from
contract to meet the
Nibiru,
specific
a
needs of a
wallet,
real estate
Curada,
marketplace,
and
ensuring
he's
each
working
tokenized
with
property is
the
unique and secure.
Truflation price feeds
This CW7.
for an
Now
agent
to
wallet.
connect our wallet, we will need to
Um,
connect this button. After, let's say the name of our NFT,
he's building this
10,000,
out with the SDK,
name of the NFT and
and
financial
he's
data,
using the
real-time graphs and
Truflation
indexes
real estate price
possibilities.
feed.
We envision
So that's
expanding the
interesting. So
platform
you
to
can
include
see in
features
here,
like liquid
we have
staking,
real
allowing
estate
users to earn
categories, we
rewards
have
on
food
their
and
property holdings.
beverages, we
We
have
also plan
different
to
price
introduce social
indexes,
proof mechanism where
PPIs,
user
producer
can
price
validate the
indexes.
authenticity and value of
So you can
properties
see
based
how
on
much
community
are
insights.
in terms of the services,
Another
the goods,
future
the core itself,
enhancement is loan
monthly retail.
arbitrage,
So you can see
enabling
all the
users
types
to
of data
leverage
that
their
we
real
have.
estate
We're
assets to
making
secure
this more
loans at
discoverable,
competitive rates,
easier for
opening up new
you to play
financial
around with and
opportunities.
work with. We even have oil prices, so you can
In
come in
conclusion,
here
the
and find,
RWA
and
real
you
estate
build a
NFT
synthetic
marketplace is set to
equivalent
transform
of
how we
the price
perceive
of
and
oil.
engage with
And you
real
can
estate
see how the
investment.
price of oil,
Thank
this
you
is
for
the
watching this
Strategic
demo. We are
Petroleum
excited
Reserve.
about this
So actually you
potential
can
of this project
overlay
and look
the
forward to making the real
SPRs
estate more
onto
accessible,
the price. And
transparent,
you can
and
see
liquid
that
in the
over
digital
the
age.
last period,
If you have
the
any questions or are
SPR has
interested
been
in
growing,
collaborating,
right? It's
feel
now
free
up
to
at
reach out. Thank you.
373,000 barrels. So it's been growing by that much. So anyway, all sorts of interesting data that we have here. And basically this is verified data. It's aggregated with 3 price feeds per unit. It's authenticated, verified, and maintained by a distributed network of node operators. And we can enable third-party developers to build indexes on top of this data, which then gets computed by this independent network of node operators to then be displayed on Truflation.com. It can also be displayed on Nibiru's dApps. It can be displayed on other platforms as well. So it's open to anybody who wants to leverage this data and build an index. So you can build a vegan index, you can build an energy index, you can build an AI index, you can build a soybean index. So you could actually even go into a vegetarian index, a carnivore index, leveraging live cattle futures, soybean for the vegetarian or vegan. And you've seen here our electric vehicle index. So that's one of the aspects of what we're doing. And again, what we're doing here is trying to power DEXs and dApps out there. Could Truflation one day be bought by the government, be a contractor? For sure. I mean, I don't know about being bought by a government. It's a network. It's decentralized. And what we're trying to do is make sure that it is owned by the users combined. Can it be a contractor to the government? For sure. The government can also leverage all the data that's been aggregated on Truflation and work directly with all the content and data and indexes and build their own indexes off the top of this. They could crowdsource the data. They can leverage and provide the data into this. We are working with a government or officials of the government. We are not officially contracted by that government, but we are working closely with representatives from a specific government, and we'll be announcing something in August pretty soon around a new country in partnership or in collaboration with that government and officials from that government. So stay tuned, watch, and we will share around that. It seems like Truflation is one of a kind. Does any other company do what it does? I don't know. We haven't seen anybody. We've seen a lot of people talk about price stats and other companies out there. We sort of view ourselves as a decentralized Bloomberg, if you will. And so we've been really focused on building out something unique and slightly different. And what we want to make sure is that people using the platform are also customers of the platform, a part of the community, and also own and contribute to that platform, right? We need to build a community around this data. And one of the things that we are really trying to do, and a lot of people have tried in the past, is really to try and build out a new type of Bloomberg. And I don't know, I was just on Reddit, or actually, no, let me not say I was. One of our community members, Crypto Hobbyist, was on Reddit and gave and shared this feedback around why is no one going after the Bloomberg terminal? Well, guess what? Truflation is really trying to do that, and we're trying to do that in a different manner by bringing financial and economic data in a decentralized form, so it's transparent. There's no centralized entity curating the type of content that gets on there. The community decides how to do it. Everybody can participate. It is immutable. So all the data that has been logged into the blockchain is actually immutable and unchangeable and is logged in there. And if it gets changed, you can see the changes that have been made. So that's really what we're trying to do, and leveraging the blockchain technology and having multiple participants have skin in the game to help build this out and have the community around it help develop this and structure it and scope this is really important. We're working with partners like Quill. We've got partners like Theoric on the II. We've got Quill on the database technology. We've got a whole slew of 12 node operators that we're announcing next week or the week after. So stay tuned to that. I don't want to give too much away, but we've got some real group of solid contributors to the ecosystem with long track record of experience with verifying the data, qualifying the data, ensuring uptime, etc. So that's really important to us. We've got a number of data providers. We've got some 80 data providers, and wait till you see our ecosystem page that's about to go live pretty soon. But those are all things that we're working on. That's very unique. And what we're trying to do is address exactly these topics out here. So we're going to be writing, and I've got a response to this. So I'll be sharing with that in the blog post on this Twitter, on this Reddit page in Y Combinator, but I'll also be sharing it on Twitter. So stay tuned for that, and excited to share more about that with you. Those are sort of the main three questions. I don't know if there's anybody else there. Saving subscribers is the primary source of revenue going to be third-party dApps? Yeah, you can actually say that the source of revenue is going to be from consumers of that data. Those are going to be dApp developers. Those are going to be DEXs. Those are going to be synthetic assets. Those are going to be liquidity pools, prediction markets. Those are all protocols that are on the blockchain that are going to be building out using the Truflation data. We've announced Overlay, the partnership. They are working with the EV index, and so we'll be developing that, and that's going to come to market very soon. And we have another couple of DEXs that I don't want to share just yet, but we've been working with them to scale that. In addition to that, we also have traditional financial services that are using our data to help them use Truflation data as a source of leading indication as to where the government numbers will be coming out. Will the BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor and Statistics again, or the ONS, which is the Office of National Statistics in the UK, which then provide this input into what is the nation state around inflation. And we try to act as a leading indicator in terms of where they're coming. And we actually do such a good job about it that actually you can see somebody just posted right now out there that, you know, core inflation tracker is now under 2%. We've been there. We do this all the time. If you go to Truflation, you'll know immediately where you're at and where inflation is. So if we go to US inflation, US inflation index, I'm going to share this tab now. And so here you can see we're down at 1.75 and it's coming down, 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 down. And remember, this is only the price change to last year. So this is year on year change. So the prices this year are only 1.75% more expensive than they were a year ago. And that, again, is the unique element. And that's what we have been promoting and talking about for quite a while. And so when Goldman Sachs comes out and tells us that it's coming under 2%, well, you know, thank you for confirming how accurate and what high frequency real-time inflation calculators can really do. So we're excited about that, obviously. And that was by Mark Siccardi, who actually posted this. So interesting insights. And yeah, so, you know, we've got a lot of things that we've been working on. We've got a interesting video coming up tomorrow together with Chainlink. We did a AMA or a podcast between me and the CEO, Chief Business Development Officer, and at Chainlink. Johan and I had a really good conversation, so that's coming later this week, so stay tuned on that. We're really fortunate this week, you know, sort of, I mean, not really, because actually Balaji did a post on Truflation, referencing Truflation. So he talked about economics is greater than politics, which I think is really important, right? Because what we're running into is a world that has now got 1.4, the US, which now has $1.4 trillion in interest payment a year. That is double the size of the military budget nearly. And so, you know, they've got $175 trillion in debt. How do we solve that, right? And what Balaji is trying to say here is that the election ain't going to cut it, right? So whilst we have amazing innovators who are really leveraging technology to the hilt, the world has been constrained by the ability to let rip. The regulations, the stipulations, the slowing down of the economy that's going to help drive growth is really going to stop and hinder any kind of economic benefit that is going to allow us to generate income, generate surplus, which will allow us to repay the debt and drop that interest rate. So the only way he's arguing is it is by actually figuring out how printing money and having the government sort of provide, again, emergency loans. You've all seen the numbers around the banking debt. So more borrowings going on right now than during COVID times. So there's lots of bonds being issued. There, the hold to maturity debt at a lot of the banks is just growing and growing and growing. There's a really good video by George Gammon. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I'll just put the link in here. George Gammon, Rebel Capitalist. He does a lot of interesting insights. So here you can see, check out his channel if you want to sort of learn some other things around economic. He goes into utmost detail around what's going on with the debt situation, and he talks about the hold to maturity debt. So you can see these red lines down here. I mean, I won't go into it.
The world's most powerful economic indicator is signaling
to it right now. But you can see here all these red lines. These are look. If you look back here, these red lines over here, these lines are from the, as he calls it, cerveza sickness days. And you look over all this period, these quarters over here, the magnitude of hold to maturity debt that these banks are sitting on. And then he goes to explain how they're all intercorrelated. They're all linked to each other. And so check it out. Have a look. George Gammon, that's his URL. You can see it here. I'm subscribed to it. I think what he says is sometimes really interesting. It's always a bit negative, and you don't have necessarily the emotional element in there. And politicians are really playing to the emotion of a nation. So everything gets extended. Everything changes very differently. And I think the population and the people have a far greater threshold for pain than we economists, macro thinkers, big thinkers, and or even in crypto, believe and anticipate. The politicians are masters at anticipating how much pain a population can tolerate. And so anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. So watch that out. You know, the debt is growing. Here you can see it. I'm going back to Balaji's post, but more importantly, he highlights and references Truflation, which we're always excited about when Balaji talks about us. But again, you can see here, 25%. That is the 3-year inflation rate. So in the last 3 years, you will have lost 25% of your purchasing power, 1/4 of your purchasing power. And that's why people are feeling the pain. And so salaries did not make up 25%. And so that's it. And so I thought this was also really interesting. So Elon responds to that. And when he talks about where the US is, remember we had a silver dollar coin, which went to a piece of paper that said this represented one silver dollar. And then it became the paper dollar, which wasn't backed by anything. And then you have the Zimbabwean $50 trillion or $550 trillion. So it's just interesting to see how the world actually goes to this. And then we go to war, right? That's what he's saying. When we hit that point, it's going to war, civil unrest. It's going to be whatever. And if you look at what happened in Zimbabwe, there was civil unrest. There was civil war. And so these are things that we really need to pay attention and watch out for. Anyway, that was sort of the post from Balaji, which I thought was really interesting and always shares some good insight. The other thing that I thought, it's a big week. We already talked about what's going on from today. But you had on Monday, we talked about the S&P 500 earnings. There were, today's Tuesday, so we'll be talking about that. We had the existing home sales. How are they performing? ETH ETF went out today, so it's expected to go live. So a lot of interesting insights there. We've got new home sales coming out, existing home sales, new home sales. I don't know why they don't report it on the same day, but I guess they still need to consolidate their pieces of paper. Again, we'll be back on Thursday talking about more insights, and we'll go into some of those reports. Because if you remember on Truflation, we do a lot around housing, and I'm going to sneak peek. You'll be able to see here what we are working on with a very unique partner. So this is here an alpha. I shouldn't be sharing this. My marketing team will be whipping me for actually doing this, but I wanted to share with you. We've gone in depth into the housing and looking at inflation in the housing market together with Penn State. Here's a report that we've been putting together with our data team alongside the authors at Penn State. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be coming out very soon. It's going to be more detailed. It's going to be more insights around that, but we'll be sharing that with you a bit more and very soon. So that was one element, but you can see there's just a lot of activity taking place right now in terms of events. So I'm going to share this tab again, and what else is going on right now in terms of information. I think you've got jobless numbers, GDP numbers, trade balance. What's that? That's the balance of trades, import versus exports. And in any economic GDP calculation, you'll know that export minus import consists of one strong part. It's consumer spending, it's government spending and investments, and then plus minus exports and imports. So that's an important element. Consumer sentiment is coming out as well. So that's going to be where are we in the economy, and then PCE. But I think one of the big things is there's going to be a lot of announcements this week. So you can see here the number of companies that are going to be announcing earnings. And today, there's an interesting announcement after close. So depending where you're at, after the close of today's business, Tesla will be announcing. And I think that's a big anticipated number. There's some really interesting YouTube channels out there. And for us, it's equally interesting because we're working and we'll be sharing with you some insights into the EV marketplace. So again, I was talking about another report coming, but look what we've been working on here for you. We've got an EV industry insight. So where and what matters in the EV category, and why is this so important? So lots of interesting stats in here, good figures, lots of graphs. So it'd be really interesting how this is coming together. So stay tuned. We'll be sharing more about this on Thursday once we learn what and where Tesla is coming out at. So we're pretty excited about all these different things. And remember, I shared with you just earlier on what is the EV index. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Venezuela, that's the other thing. Yeah, somebody was sharing, I can't remember whether it was Venezuela or Ecuador. There's like just money on the side of the streets. There was some video somewhere. Let me see if I can find that. X.com. What was it? It was money side of streets. Was it Ecuador or Venezuela? Anyway, I can't find it right now, but I'll see what I can do and see if we can dig that up. But I think more importantly, it's just look at this slew of announcements, right? It's Q2, end of Q2, so people are going to be announcing how the Q2 performed. This is before the summer, so some people are still working, but you also see a number of different companies here. Who else is really big in here? Anybody you can see? Anybody Ford, another car company? Alphabet, so Google, all these AI companies, right? They represent the MAGA 7. You've got Tesla in there, you've got Alpha in there, Alphabet, which is Google. So they're a part of the 2 of the top 7 companies. Anybody else in there? Juniper Networks, which is an internet networking routing company. So anyway, just lots of different companies all coming out and doing their announcements. I think the big ones are going to be after close today and the market, and it will define how the rest of this market went for the rest of this week. So stay tuned for those. Those will be interesting macroeconomic insights. One of the things that, I don't know if you've been listening, we've been on my podcast with Omar, where we just talk, just like two buddies talk on a regular basis, and just share some of the thoughts and thinkings. But we've been talking about nuclear energy a lot, right? And you can see that innovation is happening in this category. And one thing that's seeing is countries that are developing nuclear energy are really starting to innovate in this category. They've learned from mistakes like in Fukushima, in other countries, to avoid meltdowns, right? So China builds first meltdown-proof nuclear reactor. I'm not sure how that's possible, but anyway, they're trying to innovate in there with 105 megawatt capacity, possible to build nuclear plants without the risk of dangerous meltdowns. Okay, so it's good. We're seeing innovation, more and more renewable energy sources, but actually not just renewable. It's about innovation in the energy category, and it's about bringing new sources of energy to support a growth, right? We've already talked about the importance of GDP growth and the demand for energy as a nation grows. And so these are going to be important innovation steps that are needed to feed the growth. And we'll see more of those. And it's again about innovation in an energy category. It's about building new batteries, creating new storages, building storage capabilities, building new solar panels, building new nuclear power plants that will all drive growth and build and drive innovation to provide renewable energy and leveraging technology to drive that, not regulation. And I think that's the important thing that I'm trying to say with this, and it is possible. The other element is we've been talking about accessibility and making a lot of the services available to a large portion of participants around the planet. How do we do this? And so one thing that I just wanted to highlight, that we live in a Western world, and not everybody in the Truflation Nation lives in the Western world. We have a lot of participants across the African continent, across Latin America, across Asia Pacific, and then on the Eastern and Middle East. So we have a lot of constituents. Our biggest constituents in the US and in the UK, and then some in Europe, but then the rest of the world is also out there, and they do not have access and experience like we do to be able to access some of these amazing features and financial services that we have. And so Kofi wrote a really good post, and so he's in Ghana, and he bought this nice villa for a weekend using crypto. And everybody goes, why use crypto? You should use a bank, set up a bank account. So he goes, well, number one, there are three reasons why he used crypto, right? So inflation. The Ghana Cedi, which I think is the national currency there, is free fall. So currencies are just continuously going down, not only in terms of inflation, but also against the US dollar. So why would he want to hold Cedis? Doesn't make sense for him. Avoid, and again, to avoid, I could open a dollar account with a Ghanaian bank. So he could go to the bank, set up a bank account, and then hold dollars in that account. So he can have a foreign currency account, but I don't trust Ghanaian banks. And I'm sure a lot of people that mistrust in banks is continuing to grow. Do you trust that bank? You know that they have that money in there. If you were in Silicon Valley when Silicon Valley Bank had a run on their money because of the debt that they were holding, the hold to maturity loans that I was showing you earlier with George Gammon, you look at those numbers and then you understand, do you still trust your bank? And why do you still have all your cash in a bank account? You now have it in 10 bank accounts. But by the way, don't forget, all of these banks are interconnected. So you want to be careful where you keep your money and how you store that. So that's something that we've got to look at and we've got to reconsider, right? So I hope you're seeing what I'm seeing. Yeah, it's coming back. Something's going on. I don't know why, man, but anyway, the third reason, and so I'm just coming back to that point, right? So my big pet peeve, and if you watch the podcast and the panel that I had at the RWA summit in Brussels just 2 weeks ago, I was talking about why are we investing as a crypto community so much time to give custody of our cryptocurrencies to a bank so that we can have and continue to have a relationship with a bank, whereby wouldn't we want to have that self-custody? Wouldn't we want to then invest that same energy instead of trying to convince banks on how to build out the actual crypto scene and get banks to use blockchain and tell them and teach them? Wouldn't it be better to go to all those Silicon Valley companies that are sitting on $50-100 million worth of treasuries and say, just put 2% of your banking deposit into crypto and see how that works? And that would then help generate, you can earn yield greater than a T-bill at the moment. Okay, it may be a bit more volatile, but you've got a lot of assets to do that. And that's sort of how we get that to happen, not only in emerging markets and growing markets and economies where people are looking for new asset and investment opportunities, but to take that into the more established markets. As we've seen based on the George Gammon video, these banks are all interconnected, and Silicon Valley Bank was just the first one of the dominoes to fall. And so the other thing is, he talks about is not only I don't trust Ghanaian banks anymore, the bank account to transfer from one day to, takes a couple of days, and the fees are really high, right? So that's the main reason why I got into crypto back in 2012, was because the banking fees were super high, and it took a week to clear a check. So it was just really not very good. But it goes into that. I just highlight the importance of blockchain and what it means for other participants on the planet. 1.7 billion people on the planet don't necessarily have access to all the same financial services that we are accustomed to in more established nations, or maybe in sort of developed countries. So that was one thing I wanted to share. Obviously, another thing is we were talking about partnerships, and that's one of the things we also love to cover. It's a bit of a flip-flop. I'm chasing around, but I think one thing that was really interesting is the topic around flat coins, right? We talked about how Ghana is experiencing continuous decline in its status against the US dollar. So where could I put that money? How can I find alternative assets? Where can I store those alternative assets? And so then I look at Ampleforth, who launched their spot token a while back. And so they've been looking to scale the spot token. And we're pretty proud to be able to announce that Spot is using Truflation as one of its sources of inflation. And so we've been working with them for nearly a year now to try and work with the Ampleforth community to get them to understand the value of Truflation, that we are still here, 3 years on, we're still working away at it and trying to improve the inflation index to ensure that the rebasing or the low volatility associated with their pool is going to be accurate, and they will be able to ensure participants in that pool will be receiving accordingly to adjust for inflation. So you don't have that rapid loss. Okay, right now, inflation is only 1.7%, but who knows? Will we go back up to 17% or 20%? Because bear in mind, with onshoring comes cost. You don't have economies of scale anymore. You don't have all these other advantages that you do. And do we want to go back and build with screws and nuts and bolts and work hard in the factory and get our hands dirty anymore? I think we're all so comfortable now working in the digital age, programming, information workers that we are. How do we continue to stay ahead of the game and not necessarily be in that area? And I think there's some interesting examples that when you can look, when you don't have the benefit of scale, you don't have the background of resources and capabilities to build and hardcore manufacture assets, that, for example, phones will cost way more. You look at how long it's taken for Tesla to become a globally competitive uh, uh, car manufacturer, but they're way more than a car manufacturer. They built on software. They've built a storage in terms of electricity and energy storage. They've got space. They've got boring. All of these companies underneath there continuously innovating, not using union auto workers, having a legal team constantly looking for angles to try and invent and break new systems and barriers so that they can continue to innovate and bring that to market. And it's taken them over 20 years to do so. So to disrupt big legacy institutions, to disrupt and create blue ocean opportunities, it just takes time. And once you get it going, it really starts to work. So those are just signs of where we need to go and all the things that we need to do. More joking aside and just sort of innovation, and just want to share with you some of the cool innovations that are coming, right? And what we can be doing. But here, I don't know, take a look at where your gym, anybody going to the gym? I was in the gym this morning. I had to watch boring BBC talk about climate change again. Talk about all this, the boring stuff they always talk about. This one person that stepped on a nail and had to hurt, anyway. It was just now I can actually go on a treadmill and run in a virtual circle on the screen, and it tracks that. A bit like Zwift. Anybody use Zwift? Anybody of the cyclers? If you've used Zwift, we just had the Tour de France, Pogacar won. But anyway, you can actually now see what has been happening in this part. Cars, you're seeing EV vehicles. So again, everybody is innovating in the EV category, whether you like it or not. They can compete against ICE engines, and so they will. But you're seeing, look at this innovation, how these cars are beginning to turn and leverage new innovations to build new systems. This isn't a Tesla. This is now an EV index. How are you going to drive in these new angles? How do you steer? How do you control the car in these movements and round movements? You're going to see holograms pop up, right? So here in a box, there's somebody holographically displayed, and you can see him waving over there. And in the background, there's somebody behind a screen waving. So interesting innovations that are taking place. Here, we'll be able to have a projector. So instead of me talking through a flat two-dimensional TV screen, I'll pop up on your table and I'll be sharing with you, and you'll see me in 3D swimming around and floating around on your desk, sharing with you whatever I'll be sharing. But those are things that are going to be coming. You got Walker blades. I mean, I don't think those have been around. Those have been around for quite a long. An interesting Rubik's Cube. But this one here, where the phone will automatically follow you. So you can already see there's I don't know if you've seen it. There's a webcam called Osmo. What they do is they follow you around, so it's programmatically following you around. This is not doing this. I've got a Logitech Brio. I'm going to have to upgrade that at some point. But yeah, just look at how all of a sudden you have auto tracking with the support of a device there. And you can just stick my iPhone on there, because here I have HDMI capability already, right? So more than that, I think I have 1040, 1040, 2028. How many of you have been on a train, in a plane, where people are talking out loud on their phone and you can just hear them in the background at an airport or somewhere like that? And so for now, you can actually go and get this mask, and you can talk into the mask so nobody else hears you, and you've got your headset so you can talk. And also you feel you can share a bit more confidential data, which you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So that was another interesting find out there. And I love this, man. Just imagine transparent screens. So I can see through my screens, and I have a wall of about 100-inch screen in front of me. But now if it was see-through, I could see behind it, see through it. And the clarity that you get there. One of our partners, Levitate in India, what they did is they go to conferences and they wanted to showcase Truflation. And so what they did is they had Truflation price tickers go through leveraging our API, and they had that displayed at ETH India. And so that was really exciting and exciting. And they had one of these LED screens. So pretty cool to see that and leveraging their creativity to do that. AI-enabled Swarovski optics, binoculars. Again, here you can see another car swiveling around. Another EV, so Mercedes developing EV. Everybody's trying to get onto the EV bandwagon. You got a nice Samsung follow you around. It's a bit like a dog, except it's a robot and it can follow you around. The Bally, check that out. And then here, just electric bikes. So they're all coming. So there's a lot of innovation happening, and it's a great time because what we're doing right now is just seeing change. There is so much change going on in the financial ecosystem, on a macroeconomic level, on a political election level. You're seeing all of these changes taking place in innovation, the cost of units, AI. If you're not using AI in your search engines, if you're not using AI to help you interpret some of the graphs that you're seeing on Truflation.com or wherever, you've got to start using these tools. I use Perplexity. I've tested out Grok. I love Grok, but there are no visuals on Grok. You can also use Venice.ai, a decentralized AI engine on Morpheus, using Morpheus. So really lots of interesting things that are coming in this space. And by the way, because of the innovation that's taking place, you've got to remember that this is a world that is changing. The internet is now there. Everybody is going to be accessing a lot of information and a lot of these tools online. And where are the next billion internet users going to be coming from? They're not going to be coming from traditional markets. We've got 1 billion people coming online from South Asia, another 625 billion in East Asia, Southeast Asia, another 200 million. So there alone is nearly 1.8 billion people coming online in these Asian markets. Africa, 400 million, 350. I mean, if you combine all of that, that's actually more. That's 700 million, right? So you add all of this together, all of the people speaking and coming online will have different languages and will be communicating in different languages. And the one language, there'll be 3 languages that dominate. You've got English, and you'll see North America, you'll see Western Europe, and unfortunately, anybody else that doesn't speak English is going to have a hard time trying to scale to the level where once India comes online, once Africa comes online, you're going to see a lot of English language be there. Chinese, you've got 1.6 billion people on the planet speaking Chinese. Maybe not that many, maybe 1.4. You've got Spanish. Those, I think, are the 3 languages that are really going to dominate on the on the internet. But it's not going to be all the same type of people. So we're not going to know because we're all speaking. We're going to have an AI person here. I'm going to have a hologram here. We're not going to know how we interact with each other. But it's just going to be interesting to see how the next sort of wave of internet adoption scales, especially considering that we now have Starlink. Anywhere in the world, you can set up a panel, a satellite receiver, and offer internet connection around, which is going to be awesome. And it's just going to further highlight the digital nomad. It's going to further highlight the movement of services onto the blockchain. It's going to highlight and grow the network state. We're all going to have more in common on the different networks than we will otherwise. And that's going to be really interesting. And that's something we should really be looking forward to, and we will be experiencing. So again, we will see the evolution of network states where we have more in common with people that we are connected to over specific areas of interest on a given network than we will in our neighborhood and in the nations that we're living. So the network states are also going to evolve. So just highlighting that we're going to see a lot of momentum, a lot of activity onto the internet, and a lot of activity onto the various chains. And these chains are going to become network states. And so that is also going to be interesting. And I think that's about it I could talk to right now. I think one thing, all of you love a bit of alpha. I just stumbled across a interesting post, which was really around what are the top 10 stocks. And again, only people that have access to the US market can buy these stocks. So how do we make these stocks available? Why do we not create synthetic versions of these stocks? So if Trump should win the election, you've got, sort of somewhat Shay has put together, a stock savvy Shay has put together a list of 10 companies that he believes are really going to flourish. He believes in the steel, iron, production, manufacturing. Cliffs is a company. U.S. Steel is another company. Payment solution, mobility is going to matter. Innovation in payment and streamlining the flow of money is going to be mattering. And so Block, which is formerly known as Square, is going to play a role. DigitalOcean, new cloud infrastructure providers are going to be out there. Who are they? We saw Microsoft go down, Azure. You can be sure that going forward, not everybody is going to have one cloud provider. I'm going to need to have redundancies. I'm going to be on Microsoft Azure. I'm going to be on Google Cloud. And who else is out there? Ooh, maybe I can have it on AWS. Oh, maybe I can have it on DigitalOcean. What else is out there? Who are the other providers? DigitalOcean is a strong player. And Truflation, by the way, does use DigitalOcean. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that, but we do use that. Energy matter. Coal. Trump does talk a lot about drill, baby, drill. Maybe he also means mine, baby, mine. But the coal industry should be coming back. I don't think we should have that come back, but let's see. I wouldn't bet on that. Tesla, obviously, you've seen a lot of the predictions. I've gone in a previous video around some of these predictions where this stock could go. ExxonMobil, drill, baby, drill, right? We've talked about oil. Financial services, who's going to benefit from a new money printer go burr? And we will see that after the election, because as we highlighted in the video earlier with Balaji's post, economics is greater than politics. And the only way out of the $174 trillion debt is by printing money, unfortunately, in some form or fashion. And by the way, they don't print the money. There's no printer of physical money. The way the money comes into circulation is in the form of loans. And so the government will issue loans. And so the balance sheet of debt grows at the government level, but money comes into circulation because the banks that they lend to, e.g. a Goldman Sachs, will then be able to distribute it to its favored, WEF customers and clientele. So it won't go to us small, medium businesses that are separated all around the world, that are living in Ghana, paying in cedi, that is pegged and is borrowing dollars in order to be able to build out infrastructure, and people are saving and needing to pay in cedi coins. So that's where crypto and blockchain are really going to get adopted. You're going to see far more adoption, and it's going to be in digital oil, so in Ethereum related L1, L2s. It's going to be in Solana, where you have payment capabilities and fast transaction capabilities and strong innovation around, more centralized than the Ethereum network, but that will start to decentralize, and we'll see more and more networks, and nobody will know in a couple of years' time which network it's on. It doesn't matter. They're all going to be interchangeable, and we're going to be hopping from one chain to another without us even knowing. And so those are going to be really interesting innovations. Coinbase, they're benefiting from all these new ETFs. They're doing the custody for ETH. I think they've got 9 customers for the ETF. They're going to be doing the same for all the other altcoin ETFs that are coming, from Solana to OP to Arbitrum. You don't think these are all going to have ETFs in the near term? So it's going to be a really interesting world. Palantir, data is integral to everything that's going on. So they're going to be doing a lot of data analytics, understanding and how to leverage their AI skills, their data skills, and the ability to interpret data. And so that's what we're trying to build out in the macroeconomic world, where we're competing against and providing an alternative to the Bloomberg. It's not going to happen overnight. This doesn't go overnight. We're going to be working on this for a while. And so we've just got to stay persistent, adamant, consistent, deliver, and bring these new interesting features to life and go and try to make this happen. Even Bloomberg didn't get built overnight, right? These companies have been around for 30, 40. I think Bloomberg was founded in 1950 or 1970 or something. Reuters or Instanet or Reuters was, I think, the first innovation in 1950. Then in the sort of 1980s, 1990s, Bloomberg came along. And then, boom, here we are today. We're trying to build a different alternative because nothing has been worked on before. So that's what we're working on. A lot to do. I hope this time lag, I've been seeing some late, but on YouTube, it's been working really well, but over there, not so much. But anyway, what's the point of the token, you're asking? Well, the point of the token is for everybody to be able to participate and reward everybody for their participation. You can buy and access the Truflation Stream Network with that token. You can either, and all the participants are rewarded in the Truflation Stream Network with the Truth token. You can access the data, you can pay, we give you the right to choose. You can choose whatever you want, but the Truth token is what everybody's being rewarded in across that ecosystem. And if you're paying, if consumers are using, they get a highly incentivized option to use Truth. If they want to use an alternative currency, that currency just gets converted automatically into Truth and then gets distributed to the participants. There's a whole blog post around that, and we'll be sharing more on how those economics work in the very short-term future. So I just saw that question pop up here on the stream, so I just wanted to help you with that. Anyway, this has been going on much longer than I thought. I'm trying to bring these down to sort of fewer, shorter intervals, but here we're going for 1 hour and 7 minutes. Lots to talk about. It was a big weekend, and I just wanted to share some of the insights and research that we have been working on at True Labs, and just what we constantly ponder about and think about. We'll go into more technology and share with you more at Truflation with some of the new features coming out. And we have 2-week sprints. So from an operations perspective, to share some insights, we at Truflation support the Truflation Stream Network in 2-week sprints. If you sign up to the Truflation Discord, you can get into and see our release notes and our release schedule. So we have in Discord, we have a chat room where we just notify all the new updates that go to the GitHub repo repository. So all our code is stored in GitHub. That will be open sourced. It's not open sourced right now, but all of the node operators, all of the partners that I mentioned earlier are contributing to those repos. And you can see all the release logs that will be shared through Discord. It's not public right now, but it will be public very soon. And we will, again, be announcing that. So sign up to our Discord. Follow us on Telegram. Follow us on Twitter. We update everybody on those 3 channels. Those are our 3 main community channels. We will be growing other channels as well, just so we can reach more of you and capture more of your questions. And we'll be doing more of these videos and maybe keeping them to 30 to 40 minutes instead of 1 hour and 10 minutes. So thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that, and have a great rest of the week, and see you again on Thursday.